That gentleman is from the Peace Corps Economic Development Office. All these villages are approached by boat only. You can't get to them by roads. And that's a new house, believe it or not, made just from leftover corrugated iron from the Navy. And the people you see gathering around are from different villages, also interested in ways of making a little cash from their local industries, handicrafts. Now this is on the island of Nersul, a different island. We're now left Melikyot and we came down to Nersul to talk about an economic development project here. In this village, we're talking about a different project, which is to set up a sawmill as well as a pottery studio. And these are the headmen of that village. This is the village of Nersul on the island of Palau. Palau is a long island, about 28 miles long, with villages along the coast. This is the first village on the east coast of Palau called Nersul. The young lady is named Kathy Castellet. Now we're switched over to Yap. Yap Day was a day inaugurated by the legislature of Yap for the purpose of beginning to identify their culture with a celebration. They noted that U.S. has all kinds of special days, including UN Day, Liberation Days, holidays, 4th of July, to celebrate the day when when America became free, independent. And they felt that they should have a day all unto themselves, too. So they set up a holiday which was called Yap Day. And this was the first Yap Day to be celebrated by dancing and by insisting that, as far as possible, most people wear native dress. On Yap, most of the people wear native dress anyway, which consists of grass skirts, no tops. The people from Sawmill or Ulithi wear lava-lavas and no tops. The men wear what is known as a thu. Some of the men wear special kinds of fiber grass skirts, but the loincloth is called a thu. So here you see all the community people gathering at Colonia. Colonia is kind of the capital of Yap. And getting ready, fixing the grass skirts, putting on turmeric adornments, and generally having a good time. There's a young mother with her child, baby's nursing. You'll notice all the baskets that they carry. Instead of having pockets when you have a grass skirt, you have to have a basket. Now the children at this end of the line are doing one of the traditional dances, decked out in all the traditional garb. You'll notice the kind of thu some of those men have on. This is a welcoming dance of Yap, telling everybody, hello, you're welcome to Yap. The fibers are hibiscus fibers and hand-woven lava-lavas tied in a kind of loincloth. Now this is some kind of a spiritual dance that I've never been able to find out exactly what it's about, but it's an old traditional dance. The sit-down dance is all we call it. The men are now coming to exchange gifts which is shell money in this case. It's traditional in Yap. When one village dances for another village, they exchange and bring shell money. This is on the island of Colonia, another sit-down dance. Sugar cane, which is kind of a treat to chew. Children love the sugar cane, as our kids like candy. The heart of the bamboo frond is a very light-colored fiber, as you notice, and that's used for decoration. The light-skinned girl was a Peace Corps girl who was entering into the festivities with the other people. And that's a young Peace Corps man in his thew. Now they're marching from their village to the place of dancing, laden down with their baskets and their particular village garb. All kinds of material is used in order to make these headdresses and necklaces. Anything they can find, even modern materials and plastics and tissue paper. Cotton sometimes is used, regular cotton plants that grow. This is a war dance, war stick dance. Bamboo sticks clatter as they dance, intricate steps. Yap Day is continuing. In between dances, they rest and eat and drink, talk and gossip, and then go back to the dancing, depending on what village is called up next. These are all different villages that are brought in to dance and represent their people. It is not competitive, however. No one ever says so-and-so danced better than so-and-so. They just in a village. This is Mangafel. He is now president of Yap under the new regime. He was then a legislator. Most of their dances are used to convey messages and to tell the history of their island. Many times the messages are quite impromptu. The dye used for making the skirts originally was earth and vegetable natural dyes. Today they use carbon paper or anything they can get, even RIT dye that they buy from Sears Roebuck. Turmeric was one of the famous dyes that they still use, which is an orange color dye, and it grows profusely throughout the islands. Young lad from Colonia, local public school. This is a men's dance. You'll notice that the children dance with the adults in many cases, but get at the end of the line so they can observe and watch and learn from the older people. Now we have a group from Palau that came to they live right there on Yap. A lot of Palauans have migrated to Yap, and they were asked to do their dance, which is called a matamaton. But they're dressed in Western style, with merely a grass skirt made out of local materials. The little girl is bending over as she passes the adults, which is a custom in all of Micronesia. Whenever the adults are seated or older people are around, the young people are supposed to bend down as they pass by. And even today, in sophisticated city of Koror or Colonia, you'll find that kids have been through school or come back from the States after being to school, still have that have that habit of bending down when they pass by you. Another stick dance from another village. This custom of Yap Day is now carried on every year from that first inauguration. The old village chiefs are coming now to bring money to their sister village where they had danced. This village of Colonia is the main village of all of Yap. It's kind of the capital, where the schools are, the church, the U.S. Trust Territory Government buildings, and the port. This village is leaving the campgrounds now. The two men you see in front are the dance instructor and the chief. The one in the garb, dressed in the fiber, is the instructor. The other one is the chief. The red cloth comes from Sears Roebuck now, but the striped lava underneath the hibiscus fiber is hand-woven on backstrap looms made out of banana fiber. Now, this dance was never shown in public before. Usually it is reserved for men's house dancing, just for men. But in this occasion, since it was Yap Day, they decided to show it to the general public in a kind of expurgated fashion. It has certain sex connotations that they don't want to demonstrate in front of women. It's usually a men's dance for men alone in the men's house. I don't know who he is. Interesting headdress made of... Oh, this gentleman is the curator of the Museum of Yap, Wang. And this is a girl from Palau who came visiting. Another girl from Palau. On Yap, they have quite a settlement of Palauans.
Here you go. You did it.
I don't.
By Dr. William D. Vitarelli on October 29, 1980.
This was a special party that the district administrator of Koror in Palau held for some of the people that were working in the office. The girl was doing a dance, a welcoming dance to the island. This little island is a sandy beach island, typical of the rock islands of Palau, which has usually one elevation of volcanic rock and then sandy beaches. The undercut cliff, as you see, is typical also of these rock islands. The erosion or dissolving of the rock by the ocean water makes undercuts. This is merely playful dancing, which Palauans do at parties and in celebration of happy times. It has no particular significance except partying. The grass skirts are made from fiber from the hibiscus bush, tree, and then turmeric is used to dye them that orangey yellow color. Again, you see the undercut there. Now, these dances, especially of the party dances of Palau, are sensuous, usually showing considerable amount of hip motion. Now, the dance instructor is the gentleman that we'll see in a minute. He went out of the picture, but he's a teacher in the intermediate school and writes songs. He wrote it. There he is, coming into the center of the picture. He has written a number of songbooks of traditional Palau music. Went to the University of Hawaii, where they published some of his works. A lot of hand motion. This is called matamatong. Palau people do not dress this way anymore. Western clothes have taken over completely, except on the very remote islands. Perhaps you'll still find some people wearing grass skirts, but not in Palau now. The fish you see and the birds out there indicate where the tuna fish lie, and when we troll, they go through these sections of the water where the birds are flipping, and that's how you tell where the tuna fish are. Rock Island scene again, the thick underbrush and jungle, which is usually in the center of the island, and the sandy beach. Gives you an indication of the low islands of Palau, called Rock Islands. These grass skirts have both the grass, not hibiscus fiber this time, mixed in with cloth that they tear up and add to give a little color to the grass skirt. Now, this episode merely is a picture showing a girl bathing in the lagoon. It may be well to indicate that the temperature of the lagoon water is quite tepid. It's cool, not cold, and not hot. There are some areas on the reef where the water is very warm, where the reef water is shallow, and the sun increases the temperature considerably. But in most of the lagoon areas, like here, or within the Rock Islands, You can stay in the water a good part of the day without getting cold. This is still the Rock Islands, another Rock Island beach. Very fine, powdery sand with coconut trees and interior growth of various tropical trees. When it is breezy and windy on these islands, there are no mosquitoes, but if you have a long, dry spell and no wind, then the mosquitoes come back. Now they're back in their turmeric-dyed grass skirts and some with the rags tied in. This is the Karakimanai dance. Again, another party welcoming dance. Maybe too much of that stuff. No? Yeah. This demonstration was done by the dancing instructor from the intermediate school and his students in order to show and demonstrate this type of dance. It was done at my bequest. It was not done for any specific indication on this beach. Prior one was done for the district administrator. You'll notice an elderly lady or middle-aged lady in the middle who is the mother of two of the girls that came out to help in the demonstration. While they're dancing, they sing and say certain words that indicate what the meaning is and why they are there. Now we are on the Marshall Islands, where they're putting on a party for the firstborn child of one of the leading men in the village. This is actually a Hawaiian method of cooking pig, although it's done wherever they have volcanic rock. In some of the low islands, they don't have volcanic rock, so they have to import them from the high islands. In order to heat the stones, which you saw underneath the leaves, they heat them for quite a few hours, and then they put on the banana leaves and throw in the pigs, and then cover them. You'll see later how they cover them with banana leaves. And that makes them steam under there for about 6 hours. And then they cover it. And by evening, the pig will be finished. They stuff the pig with onions and condiments, herbs, salt, pepper. That practice of cooking a pig is not indigenous of Micronesia, but more of Hawaii, and it was introduced. This is a Ganya stream in Aganya, Guam, showing the formation, the geological formation of these cliffs, which is similar to some parts of the southern islands of Micronesia, but not undercut like in Palau. These are limestone cliffs that were pushed up in volcanic periods of eruption and distortion of the earth, and then over eons of time, ocean eroded some of the sides of the cliffs. In the time of a typhoon, which I witnessed once, big boulders of tremendous size break off those cliffs. This episode shows the outrigger canoes from Azore Island in the Ulithi Atoll. which is south of Guam, and in the Yap district. This channel was between Azor Island and Palau. Here are some of the little kids of Azor playing in the lagoon. From the time a little child can walk, you'll find them down at the beach. Ocean is a very important part of their whole life and culture, obviously. And this little lad is showing us how he puts on his thu. This piece of cloth is the single garment that the boys and the men wear in Ulithi. These little low islands rise above sea level about 6 to 10 feet at the most. The flora of the islands consists mostly of coconut trees and a few papaya. Now these lads coming up from the beach have been having a lesson in how to draw not only the sea and the things of their island, but how to use pencil and paper in drawing, which they're not used to. It was at a session that I conducted for 2 months on the island. This is the most important outrigger canoe of Azor Island. It's a large canoe that plies between Azor and the other islands of the atoll, goes out in the open ocean, has a pandanus sail, and is identical of the ancient outrigger canoes of this island. The bamboo for the mast comes from Yap, because they have no bamboo on the islands of Ulithi. And the sail, as I mentioned, is made from pandanus. These are young girls of the school on Azor, demonstrating a typical dance that they learned from the people of Palau. This is also a matamatung that was taught to them by a Palauan. The lavas that they are wearing under the coconut frond grass skirt is made from banana fiber, stripped by hand, each little fiber separately, and then woven on a backstrap loom. The leis are made from shredded coconut bark and laid in the sun to bleach white. The flowers on their wrists and the other decorations are all made from the coconut bark strippings. Some of these girls, although teenagers, were still learning how to read and write in the elementary school level. These lads are playing on the beach of Azor Island. The gentleman who is teaching dancing, Alfonso by name, studied on Koror for a while, brought back some of these dances and taught them to the students. The cross indicates the religion that was introduced by Father Walters, missionary. He lived on this island for about 30 years, built a church and taught them the Catholic religion. Everyone on Azor, almost everyone, is Catholic. Now they're doing a Yapese men's dance that was introduced from Yap.
About what year is
This must be about 1953. Could be 54, between 53 and 54. Since then, this island has had a high school built. Students from all the other islands of Ulithi and some from Walleye come to the high school on Azor. Again, we see the front of the typical Ulithian and out-island canoe with a forked front. That's how you identify the Yapese and Ulithian type of canoe. Those are called the female canoes. They have a male canoe which has a much higher front prow. These ladies are cutting some coconut fronds in order to make some grass skirts. They cut the frond off the tree and split it down the middle, making two pieces, and then weave them together for a grass skirt. These are everyday grass skirts, work skirts. The party skirts you saw previously in the girls dancing on the beach. We are, again, back in the low islands, the rock called the Rock Islands, and the sandy beaches. This will be an illustration that Mr. Palau, great fisherman of Palau, one of the greatest. Oh, no, it isn't. I thought he was going to show us how to spear a turtle. They're using the grass skirts that the ladies made from the coconut fronds. You'll notice the tops that they wear. These ladies came from Koror, and the introduction of Western dress has already taken over, which is true of all Palau these days. And they're doing a simple matamatong dance. The matamatong is usually used to narrate or tell a story, improvise anything they feel like saying. Some of them are traditional, and some of them are invented on the spur of the moment. The twisting of the hand and wrist in this love dance indicates you are welcome and come to me. One of the homemade boats, we call them putt-putt boats, they're made with a small Japanese engine. And this is a skate that was caught in the lagoon. Now we're on Yap in the village of Colonia, where I went to teach how to use the clay of the Yap Islands in order to make bricks and put them together into a small dwelling. The bricks are made from clay without straw. It's not adobe. It's rammed earth called pizza de terre. And they make each brick individually, let them dry in the sun, and then put them together to make the walls and foundations. This little house is still standing after about 15 years. Still used. Government took them over eventually and used them for government housing. Then they went back to Palau, to Yapese ownership.
What year this is? Okay.
In about the year 1962 on Yap, I went to help them learn how to build somewhat in the Western style using their local materials of clay to make the basic foundation and walls of this house.
That's you, right?
Yeah. I am demonstrating at this time to two of the builders. Mr. Russ Curtis is next to me, who was head of the co-op there. And under the auspices of the Yapese co-op, we built these houses with their financing. The two houses cost about $600 a piece, including all the bought materials. The rest was all local materials. Most of the money went for roofing and for cement, some lumber. This is the water tank made out of waterproof plywood, marine ply, and it's still functioning today. Catches water off the roof and then by gravity is fed to the kitchen and the shower. Very simple kind of tank. We're in Rota. Rota is in the Marianas Islands, which are now a commonwealth under the United States. At the time of this picture, obviously, it was still a trust territory. Rota is one of the most fertile islands of the Marianas, where good farms existed and where produce was sent out to Guam when it was possible. These are cucumbers being packed for Guam. Little girls sweeping up in the morning. They keep their village very clean. Although as far as money goes, they had very small incomes, but plenty to eat from their own produce. One of the handicaps was a channel that was obstructed by a military vehicle and a tank. And we had to help them get that tank out of the channel, but for years they couldn't get out with their produce. And this was one of the first shipments being made after we removed the obstacle from their channel. Today, quite a bit of the produce is shipped to Guam for the military. Rota has the best water of all the islands, spring water that comes up from the depths of the island. This shows the lush growth in the experimental farm under the Department of Agriculture. Onions and cabbages. There's quite a bit of corn. There's a cornfield there. They grew very fine melons, cantaloupe, watermelons. Housing was very poor, but now they have mostly concrete houses. Fishnet drying. Teaching agriculture in one of the school buildings. This boy is chewing some sugar cane. Now we're on Ponape. family on Ponape, dancing on Ponape. The women have little pieces of bamboo which they tap on a board which rests on their lap. And the rhythm is accompanied with singing and modest dancing. Very different from the Palau and Yap dances.
Was this being done for anything special?
This dance was being performed in preparation for UN Day. The Education Department of Ponape had sponsored it. Every UN Day is like their 4th of July, I presume.
Any idea of the year?
This must have been about 1954. Yeah. The headdresses are made from ilang ilang, usually a very sweet-smelling herb. The women are dressed in Western dress, and the men have a semblance of local ancient costume. We're on island of Azore in the Ulithi Atoll. Girls wearing lavas woven from banana fiber. This old chief has a headdress made from albatross, I think, or a frigate bird. There it is. Some youth, lads, and children of Ulithi. Kids fooling around in the lagoon. Young girl from Palau. This is a big outrigger canoe. They drape the canoe with mats to keep the sun from drying it out. Here they're getting dressed for a dance. This young lad is chewing on a piece of langosta. And here we have sick bay, or the infirmary, just a shack where if anyone is sick, they go and rest. This girl was one of the school girls who gotten ill until the other girls came and tended to her. This was inside one of the men's houses. People eating lunch. Their tattoo on the back of that man is indicative of the high family tattoos used for chiefs and leading men. The little children eating Western style for the first time. This was in the shack that Mr. Boykin and I lived in. We had come back from fishing, and a big langosta was caught and dumped into this tray. Girls eating coconut meat. Grating coconut in the kitchen shack, one of the dwellings. I was teaching them how to make an American-type loom or a different Western design just for the fun of it. And this is a project in our school, elementary school. Weaving is one of the most important activities of the women of the village. They use a simple backstrap loom. And this is a loom with heddles and tamper, as you see here. Now we have a little class in drawing of the elementary school, learning to represent the flora, fauna of their island on paper. They enjoyed this very much. This is the first time they ever did anything like that. This is on Fasarai, one of the islands of the Ulithi Atoll. Most of these islands now look very different because the dwellings are a mixture of old ancient types and some modern concrete buildings. This is in the Marshalls, showing an atoll, lagoon, and many of the little moti. A motus is a small island of the lagoon, and many of them are strung around to protect the lagoon area from the ocean waves. We're in Ponape. This illustrates the uplift formations of volcanic action in ancient times. This is a harbor, inlet, harbor, a bay, Ponape. Some children on a raft coming in to shore. Other kids swimming in the lagoon, Ponape. Poling in to dock in shallow water. Poles are used invariably in most districts. PBY plane, amphibious plane, coming into Majuro. This is Majuro on the ocean side of the reef. Excellent surfboarding possible in these islands. This is early in the morning, getting ready to get on the plane, go back to Guam. We're back in Ulithi. Some of the little shacks put up after the war, made of leftover corrugated iron. These were sick old people that were being attended to by the community. Yes. They wanted to have films made of the people. They were very ill, very old. Teacher coming to one of the elementary schools in Azor Island. This is a school building, had no furniture. Children worked on little slabs on the floor. Now they have a tremendous building which houses or accommodates about 300 students, elementary as well as high school. This was the beginning of school in that year in probably 53. Old gentleman making rope again from Senate, from the coconut fiber. Another view of the lagoon, children playing in the lagoon. Big langusta. children of Fasarai. This is on Fasarai Elementary School, children playing a game. This is a Ulithi dance. Old men's dance that the kids are simulating, kind of mocking a bit and having fun, copying the old men. These were children from the elementary school of Azore Island. All grown up now, fathers and businessmen and congressmen of their district. Smoking is very prevalent in the outer islands. One of the islands, Thais, grows tobacco. People from Truk often sail over to get their tobacco all the way to Thais. Girls are decorating themselves in preparation for a dance. The white material is scraped, as you see here, from coconut frond and then put in the sun to be bleached, then woven into different forms for headdresses and leis. Many times paper is used, as this girl is doing. Since paper was introduced, they adapt to a different material. All this is the fiber, which you notice is a little yellowish, but will be perfectly white after it is bleached. Put it in the sun to be bleached. The lava is made from banana fibers and dyed with now paper solution. Carbon paper is put into water and boiled and then for that purplish color. In ancient times, they used earth. And charcoal. They used to use charcoal a lot for the black dye. We're out on one of the rock islands now of Koror, where there was a party going on for the district administrator, Mr. Gardinas. The placid waters in the rock islands, among the rock islands, are profuse with fish of the type used for catching the larger fish, sardines. This man is demonstrating a throw net where the sardines are caught and then used for food, but also as bait for the larger fish. This is Yano, the son of Ibadul, chief's son, who went out with me to show and demonstrate how the throw net is used to catch sardines. Sardines are usually eaten raw, marinated in soy sauce and lime juice if you don't have soy sauce. Plenty of limes in Triangle Island of Koror, of the Palau district, I mean. Here are some of my kids getting the fish. All through Micronesia, these throw nets are used, made from imported nylon yarn now. One throw and you have enough fish for the whole village. Unfortunately, on Guam, this kind of fishing is not used much anymore because there's not many fish. The pollution from the development of the island has dissipated the fish. This is up in Ponape at Atoll, a man-created island of pentagonal types of rock that was formed during the volcanic period of eruption. Many people can't quite figure out how these big stones were carried. They know where they came from, but they can't figure out how they were transported from the cliffs where they were chiseled off to this site. But they were put together and they made a whole island out of them. Here are the Ponapean people dancing. This dance was, at this time, this was probably around I came back 1960, could be 64, 65, at the Pacific Island School, which was a school for all districts of Micronesia. And they were doing this in response to a request by Holiday Magazine, and were paid for it. This dance was on Ulithi among the school kids. Dancing is done sometimes just for the fun of it, sometimes particularly for celebrations of various incidents. This dance is a matamaton copied from the Palau dance taught by a Palauan. This is on the island of Yap in Colonia. That's one of the dwellings, the Yap dwelling. This was around 1964, demonstrating Yapese, typical Yapese dress. This girl is making decorations, headdress for dancing, getting ready for a particular dance. The very central part of the coconut frond is used for decorating. Headdress, arm dress, ankle forms. Turmeric is being rubbed onto this girl's arm. Coconut oil mixed with the turmeric root provides a kind of orangey yellow skin ointment. In full garb, in the background was the priest, the missionary priest from Yap. This dance is being done on a street where there's a lot of Yapese money. It's called the bank, the Yapese money bank. Stick dance. School children from the intermediate school of Yap putting on a stick dance. This dance was a practice dance being put on in preparation for the UN Day, United Nations Day. Here comes a whole lot of shell money, which is distributed from one village to the other. When a village goes to another village to dance, money is exchanged. It's a young Yappi's mother. There goes a piece of money, Yappi's money, being taken to another village site. Old chief and all the children coming out in full garb. The young children usually hang on the end of the line, learning from the others who are more proficient in dancing. This is one of the villages, Gagil. That village was Gagil in Yap. Here comes the old man, an old chief, who lived during German times, so he's probably in his 90s, a very old man, who spoke fluent German. Whole body is completely tattooed, showing his high rank. He was telling us about his experiences during the German and then Japanese regime. It's a typical dwelling. That's a community house, not a family dwelling, but a community place where the old men go to talk. And the money you saw was lying against the building, showing the wealth of that particular clan. Here's the framework of a home. This would be a home for a family. This group of dancers were performing in preparation, practicing in preparation for a school party. They're all from the intermediate school of Koror. They came out to the Rock Island for a weekend picnic and dance practice. The dance instructor will appear later and you'll see him showing them how to dance. This is a matamatong dance from Palau, telling a story or a legend. The Rock Islands of Palau are located between Koror and Peleliu. They are unique uplift formations of calcium deposits left from many, many eons of shell life. These little islands are like a maze, look a little like mushrooms when you get up close because they are undercut. This is a channel between Koror and Peleliu on the way to the Rock Islands. We're now going out of Malakal Harbor in Koror This is outside of Peleliu, the little channel going into the main village. And this is at Kyangle, one of the streets or roads that go around the island. This is the beach at Kyangle, on the lagoon side. An atoll has a central lagoon area, which is a subsistence area that has dropped below sea level and left the water there. The outside of the reef, or the lagoon, is the rough part, as you see here. This is on Koror. This particular picture of the chief is Chief of Kyangle, the old Chief of Kyangle. This is one of the high-level family women of Koror chewing betel nut. Betel nut is one of the narcotics that the people chew. This is Hawaii. Volcanic islands of Hawaii. Those cliffs are called the Pali in Hawaii. This is Guam, showing the different formation of the islands. This is a coast on Guam, on the ocean side. Guam has a fringing reef. The central parts are volcanic, ancient volcanic uplifts, and then there's a reef that fringes the island. It has no lagoon. It's not like an atoll. And now we're coming into Yap, showing the verdant growth, coconut trees and mangrove swamps. The little arrow formations you see on the reef are fish traps made of coral heads and adjusted so that when the tide goes out, the fish get trapped. And then they just go out and spear them and pick them up. This whole reef formation shows the shallow part and then the deep part beyond the waves. This is a typical men's house, community house of Yap. Thatch roof, bamboo, and this is the bank. On Colonia, Mr. Sid Seed of the WCTC co-op in Koror. Money you see there is made of calcium rock from Palau. The people used to go without riggers and carry these stones after they were mined all the way back to Yap. These are the cliffs where those stones came from, where the money was quarried and then transported back to Yap about 700 miles away over open ocean. Here's a view of the Rock Islands again. And that's Angar. Angar is a phosphate island where the Japanese quarried tons and tons of phosphate, shipped it back to Japan. After the Trust Territory Department of Interior took over, the phosphate mining was discontinued because it was uneconomical. Going in a small motorboat outside the Malakal Harbor on our way to the Rock Islands. Here you can see the undercutting caused by many, many thousands of years of erosion and dissolving of the limestone. The little island in front of you is typical of many of the remnants of that limestone. These caves are encampments where the Japanese had machine guns hidden in order to fortify their islands before the United States came in to take over. This is a beach out on one of the Rock Islands, some more beaches. Most of the little Rock Islands have a beach on one side. This is Ibadul, the High Chief of Palau. And this is one of the sub-chiefs of Koror. And a chief and his wife of Kyangle, the northernmost atoll, and only atoll in the Palau group. Tatsuo Adachi, principal of the elementary school, another leading citizen, a young lad from Koror, from Ngarba'eth, that lad, and 3 little kids from Koror. This gives you an idea of the physiognomy and the racial characteristics of some of the people. These 2 girls were from the intermediate school. She attended the Seventh-day Adventist school, which was a missionary school. These girls are from the Catholic school. And this is a girl from the public school, and that's Anna Dedil, wearing Palau money around her neck, indicative of childbirth. An old Rubak, R-U-B-A-K, meaning old man, but it's a dignified, respected term for old people. And here comes Anna with her twins. She gave birth to twins, which is a great honor in Palau. This is a ngasa ceremony, after-birth ceremony. It takes about 3 days to a week of ceremonies in the ngasa. Anna Dedil, the girl who is demonstrating the afterbirth ceremony, covered with coconut oil and turmeric, made her own grass skirt, but she preferred yarn instead of the traditional materials. That was the first time we saw that done. And this is one of the little American kids. Many of her friends from Koror came to her island of Airai, a village of Airai, in order to celebrate the birth of her twins. An outrigger from Sansarol, which is one of the southern islands in the Palau district. There are no more outriggers on Koror. Instead, they've been replaced by small outboard motors. But this was around 1952 or 53, when outriggers were still being used. This shows how the tacking is done by moving the sail from one end of the craft to the other end. As you notice there, it's very swift. And that's a T-dock in Koror. There they are, tacking to go in the other direction. This is an old M boat left over by the Navy, used for transporting and hauling heavy materials among the islands. Another leftover Navy boat, T-Dock. This is T-Dock at Karor. A group of Americans going out for a picnic to one of the Rock Islands on the government picket boat. This passageway goes up to a little village called Nersul on the eastern coast of Palau. On either side, you see the mangrove swamps where various types of nipa palm and other tropical plants grow, and where the crocodiles lurk. Coming into the village now. This is a typical beach scene of the islands called Rock Islands. Those little cabins were built as shelters in order to encourage people to come and use the islands. This is one of the docks leading out of Melikiok. Poinsettia is quite profuse in the islands. This is a street in Kyangle, the northernmost atoll, and the only atoll in the Palau group, and that's an ancient abai, meaning men's house. A very ancient one, said to be hundreds of years old. The carvings, again, on the facade show the history of the village. And that is a ceremonial house, the purpose of which I have never been able to discover. This gentleman is carving an axe handle with an adze made from ukal wood. This gentleman is carving a monkey man, and during the process of my taking this picture, he started it from a block of wood and finished it within a couple of hours. The skill with which they wield that adze is incredible. Making a face for the eyes, the nose, and not missing a lick is really something. These little effigies, called monkey men, are examples of some of the handicraft which is sold to tourists. But in ancient times, they were used for ceremonial purposes. You can notice here how exact he's carving the sockets for the eyes without missing a stroke.
Do you know what monkey man means? Are there monkeys?
And there are monkeys on Palau, but these are images of human beings. And the anthropologists have not been able to determine whence they come, from what source of history, but they are ancient. They call monkey men because they resemble in some respects a face of a monkey. This gentleman is making a storyboard, which is a carving depicting the history of his island. These storyboards were adapted from the facades of the houses. On every men's house and even on homes, carvings were made on the facade to depict the family background or tell a story about the village. It was a form of writing, picture writing.
What kind of wood?
This wood is This is the Koror Abai, A-B-A-I, meaning old men's house, built by the old men of the village. It was existing there when I came in 1950 and was later, I think 6 years later, was blown away by a big typhoon. The totem pole type of effigies in the front are usually put in front of boathouses to ward off spirits. This is pandanus. Pandanus is a fiber that grows profusely throughout all the islands and is used for making baskets, grass skirts, and many other uses. This lady is making a kind of a little basket type of purse.
What is this, a tourist trade or is this for her?
This is originally ancient in their culture, but now many of the tourists purchase them. This is an ancient art, goes way back in their history of using this material for making all kinds of baskets. They make rugs and mats, sleeping mats, also from this material. It's very tough, lasts a long time. The tattooing on this old lady's hand indicates high family, a practice no longer to be seen in Micronesia. One of the anthropologists has compiled a book on nothing but the tattoos of Micronesia. A lost art, not to be seen any longer, except on very old people. The deftness with which these fingers work is unbelievable. This lady is making a basket out of the fronds of a coconut palm. These are common or ordinary baskets made for carrying utilitarian objects, food or whatever. It takes approximately 5 minutes to make a basket. If they're in a village and want to bring home some coconuts, taro, tapioca, any produce or fruit, the woman will strip off a coconut leaf, make a basket, and carry it home. These are very valuable. We don't have this in the other. You notice how easily and quickly she puts together these fibers. Many Americans try to learn this, and they go so fast they can't see how it's done. But there have been a few who have learned it. Some of my family have learned how to make baskets. Still can't do it with the speed of the Micronesians. The bracelet you see this lady wearing is made from a piece of silver from a dollar, a silver dollar, hammered out and made into a bracelet. They put a hole in the middle of the silver dollar and then gradually keep hammering it until it spreads out and makes a bracelet. This lady and her children are coming home with food from the taro patch. This young girl of the island of Ngamalis, outside of Koror. Ngamalis is a large rock island. Now these ladies on Karor, back in Palau, are getting the hibiscus fiber softened up by rubbing. It has already been dyed with the turmeric, and they're combing it out and will make out of this fiber the party grass skirts that they use for special occasions, for ceremonies and parties. People work in groups like this usually, rather than individually. And they have time then to talk and gossip and enjoy one another's company. It's quite a social occasion. In ancient times, the dyes were taken from the earth, various kinds of earthen dyes, plus vegetation. Today, with more sophisticated materials on hand, they use other materials. For instance, that purplish blue is carbon paper from the office. They're quite ingenious in innovating new methods depending upon what is available. This little girl is from Karor, is the daughter of one of the women, and is modeling a sample grass skirt, party grass skirt. These girls are demonstrating the putting on of a party skirt. The belt is made of cross-section pieces of tortoiseshell, drilled with a hole and then threaded as beads. Very expensive and precious belts. The side orangey material is hibiscus. The front is made of reeds. These are high school girls or intermediate school girls of the time. Again, 1952. Could be into 1953, possibly.
Are they from Karor?
These girls are mostly from Karor. Some are from Peleliu, some are from Angar, other two islands nearby Karor. The intermediate school was the first school beyond elementary education, and students came from the various islands and villages. This was a school party that my wife and I was invited to, and we thought we would go and have a picnic, and in the meantime take movies of the girls in their fancy dresses. Many of these girls are now grown up and have many children of their own. This is an old men's house on Karor where the men go to sit and chew betel nut and to make decisions concerning the politics of the village or just for relaxing. On the facade of this building and on the sides you will see symbols which are carved and then painted. The white is lime from the reef, the black is charcoal, and the yellow is turmeric again. Or nowadays they use even paint. But this one is an old one that was done according to the ancient ways. It was there before I got to Karor 1949-50. This is just a temporary house on the end of a pier where the people wait for a boat. That was up on Langui is where that pier was. This is a modern house built by a businessman who helped organize a co-op in Palau, Mr. Seed. This is the beginning structure of the first school built by the people of Langui on Babeldaub Island. Since the war, they had no real building. This was done in about 1951 or 2, as I recall, and was the largest village building at the time. This was a public school run by the people of the village. Board of Education was made up of the chiefs of the village, and the labor was provided by all the fathers who were going to have their children in the school. The joinery in these buildings was learned under the Japanese vocational education plan. The structure, as for dimensions and needs, was designed by our education department. I was then director of that department, but the way it was built was according to Palauan and Japanese methods. These are the rock islands from the air. On these islands, there is a kind of wood which is very dense called dort, D-O-R-T, and it's so heavy it sinks. So they put bamboo around it to float it into the mill. These pictures show the first logs coming in to a sawmill that was built on Koror. The parts of this sawmill came from all kinds of leftover material from the Navy, from Japanese, from the war, and the big blade you will see eventually that cuts these logs I acquired from the Navy on Guam. It took about a year to get this mill underway, but this is the first day of actually cutting. It was around October 1951. The track you see here came from Ngepang, which is a village on the coast of Lavaldal, where the Japanese had a mine. The men here come from various villages, but mostly from Koror. This historic occasion shows the first mechanized saw made, run by an old diesel engine that the Navy left, improvised in many ways. And this is the first saw cut, which from then on sawed thousands of feet of wood for the schools of Babeldaut and for homes and other purposes. And the wood was used in these days for building because the termites could not eat it. It was so dense. This gentleman is taking sennet, which is the fiber of the coconut husk, and stripping it in order to make rope. He will twine and twist it on his thigh, as you see. Makes a very strong rope that is resistant to fungus and rot, and doesn't deteriorate with age, and therefore it is used in building. As you will see later, they tie together the rafters and joists of the building with this sennet rope. By constantly twisting pieces together, as he's doing now, you can make a very heavy, long rope. This is common practice throughout Micronesia, wherever coconuts are grown. Yap and Truck now, at the present time, 1980, are the only ones making this rope, which is now sold as a handicraft rather than as a utilitarian material for their own building. No buildings are made that way anymore. But the sennet rope is still made in those two districts for use as a handicraft item. Here they are tying together the joists to the rafters in the intermediate school on Koror. This is a dormitory. The members of this framework are made from mangrove logs, the kind of mangrove logs that grow very slowly in the water and therefore are impervious to insects and termites. This craftsman is tying together the rafters. This gentleman is making shingles out of nipa palm and the sennet rope, as you see him threading it through, sewing it together with sennet. He will do this from morning until night, days in, day out, until enough shingles are made for the roof. The shingles are put on, as you see, again with sennet rope tied together, from 5 to 6 inches thick. A roof of that thickness will last about 5 years. When repairing it and maintaining it, if there's a leak, they merely add more of the shingles. And some roofs get as thick as a foot or more with age. This gentleman is using an adze for making a joint. The adze is a common tool of Palau, used for many purposes, small ones as well as large ones. This gentleman is using a Japanese crosscut saw. American saw. The logs came from the Rock Islands. That wood being used is ukal wood for those members, and dort wood is used for the members that hit the ground. This is dort wood and a Japanese plane. American chisel, American hammer, but a Japanese joint, taught during the Japanese vocational school. Japanese were very good at teaching crafts, so many of the older men who had gone to the Japanese school helped in the building of these buildings. This is an American method for making forms for concrete. These are government workers who live on Koror and came out to volunteer and help build the elementary school. Here they're putting in footings for the posts that will support the school. Back in Koror, where the ladies are bringing lunch to the workers. These women are the mothers of the children who will attend the school. Instead of money taxes, work is used as a substitute. Girl is grating a coconut. Grated coconut is used to make coconut milk by being squeezed and the juice taken out. This lumber you see and the people here represent an effort to build a public elementary school on Koror, the first public elementary school built by the people of Koror. The logs were sawed up on that sawmill we saw previously, made into timber and then into trusses according to a method taught to these people during the Japanese regime. The women bring the food for the men during lunch period. They're all from Koror. The little tray is a leftover from the Japanese method of eating on small trays adopted by the Palauans. People paid no taxes for education, but they offered their labor instead, and in that way we were able to build schools and start a system of education for the people. These trusses weigh tons. They're so heavy. The wood is so dense. The dort wood is now so scarce there's a prohibition on using it for anything except handicraft, earrings and bracelets and little things. The architecture of this school building is basically Western, according to my design, but the method of putting the parts together was Japanese. It was a very difficult task to get the trusses up to their proper height, and we thought we were not going to be able to do it because we did not have any cherry picker, they call it, or a crane, but the men very ingeniously figured out a way to erect the tremendous heavy trusses. Although they are using nails for bracing temporarily, this entire building is built of joints with pegs, and no nails are used at all in the main structure. And this is one of the first concrete typhoon-proof buildings built on Angar under the auspices of our education department. An elementary school still standing after 30-some years. This was the opening day of the inauguration of the school. This building is built by the Palauans, which is an adaptation of the Palau Abai, the old men's house, and modern construction. The lower walls are made of concrete block. The roof, as you see, is nipa palm thatch. The structural materials, the framework, is mangrove swamp logs. The facade of the building is carved again with a story of the village and legends. This building was quite useful, but not as beautiful as the old original Abais. All these decorations stem from ancient Palau legends. This was the opening day of the fair, the yearly fair that is held on UN Day. These ladies coming up the street in Ngaramlangui are dancing in celebration of the opening of the Ngaramlangui School. This was about 1952 or 53. Here they are, all the women from Koror and other villages and Ngaramlangui celebrating by dancing and singing the words of praise for the workers and for the district administrator and the chiefs. Much improvisation is used in the songs. The leader sings out the sentence and then the rest chant it with her. There is no significance really to the uniform. It just happens when women get together now under Western methods and have material, and they come from the same clan or family, they like to dress similarly. These grass skirts are a combination of fiber, grass fiber, and cloth. And by the way, most of the cloth you see pictured in the dresses of all these people comes from Sears Roebuck. Mail order business is very big in Micronesia. The wands have some significance, but it's been lost in ancient tradition, and no one really knows exactly what the significance of the wand is. The tips of the wand, as you see, are made to resemble flowers. Originally, they used leaves and flowers, but now they use paper, crepe paper, and anything they can get.
This is the old women's dance?
This is the old women's dance of Koror and Palau. At every celebration, this dance is made with certain words. As I said before, though, the words are not stereotyped. They are invented for the occasion to tell a story of thank you or respect. Sometimes it is quite comical to hear the words of Malungil Arongukrakau, Mr. Vitarelli, or Malungil Arongukrakau, and then the name of some American. Mixing of the Palau language with American sounds peculiar to some of us. Most of the people of Micronesia now speak English. It has been taught now for over 2 decades in the public schools. This was a dance outside the Koror Women's Clubhouse. In Palau, the heritage and the governance is a matrilineal culture. The women have power for future leadership through birth, and not the men. The chief's son is nothing, but the chief's sister's son is the one that inherits the power. This is the PBY coming in to Koror. Amphibious plane in those days. We had no big airfield, but an old Japanese ramp. There I am with the chief.
I took out all of this and the other one.
This part.
Yeah. I think I'll leave this.
This is pretty good to show the...
We've got another PD.
Mm-hmm. This one is good.
I know, but I can't just leave this now. I shot of an airplane.
These are leftover small transports from the military, from the Navy. This is the constabulary, which is the police force of Palau. Copied directly from Marine instruction. A little incongruous because the use of guns and that kind of drill is an anachronism in Palau, but it was a copy from the American administration. The district administrator and his wife are here, arriving on Koror. Mr. Burnett and Mrs. Burnett. That was 1953. This is on Guam, a group of Americans at a beach party on the beaches of Guam. Most of these are teachers from the high school of Guam. This is a play put on by Mrs. Burnett, the wife of the district administrator and the doctor's wife. On the right was the doctor's wife, on the left was Mr. Burnett's wife. This is a picture of Kobe harbor in Japan. Many Americans used to take their vacations in Japan. It wasn't too far away. This is a street scene in Kobe. The development of the Japanese cities and streets and markets is quite different from what you see here at the present time. This beggar doesn't exist any longer in Japan, and the dress is quite different, quite westernized. But this was 1953, which was a long time ago for Japanese development. Baseball on Koror is a very popular sport. During the Japanese regime, baseball was played and was introduced and then picked up by the American administration with a vengeance. And every village had its team, and every year they have a World Series among the villages and schools of Palau. The Palau team went to Guam to play the Navy and won the series. They're very good baseball players. Girls from the intermediate school also play. That's a softball play. This gentleman on the right was the sports director from the Department of Interior. Arguing as usual, the district administrator's team thought it got a bad deal. Typical of American baseball. Here's the picket boat used by the American administration for picnics and recreation. The Micronesian teachers who worked for the government and other bureaucratic employees also used to join with us. But this was in the early days when there weren't many Micronesians advanced enough for these positions. Trolling on the way to Kyangle for a picnic. Mr. Burnett laughing and pulling in a fish. He was the district administrator at the time. The sea bass. Fishing in Palau is very, very good. A tuna, Mr. Seed and his tuna fish.
William V. Vitarelli on October 30th, 1980.
These men from various villages of Palau have come into Koror for the yearly fair, UN Day fair, when they celebrate the time of the United Nations Trusteeship Agreement. They're in now to go fishing in competition with one another. They go out to the reef and fish for 1 hour and bring home their catch, which is weighed, and then a prize given to the one who caught the most fish. And then all the fish was used for the celebration for the dinner that night. I learned to fish Palau style, but as you see, I didn't get too many. Here they are coming in with their 1 hour's catch. Spear guns, designed by Palauans, are very effective tools for fishing. Outrigger canoe with a sail. In the T-Dock Harbor, every year up until about 1960, there were outrigger races during the UN Day celebration. But beyond 1960, that was discontinued and outboard motorboats were used instead. This is a Sansarolese canoe. Sansarol is an island south of Koror, in the Palau district. You can see the tacking method is to move a sail from one end of the boat to the other. Very beautifully designed canoes made from one log, hollowed out with an adze and sometimes burned to char the wood and then make it easy to hack out the interior. Originally, the sails were made from pandanus woven together like the women were making baskets, but much finer. In Ulithi, during these days, the sails were still made of pandanus up until about 1965. Out in Wolii, they still make them that way. Wolii is probably the most untouched island by civilization to date. This is an outrigger being paddled from the Rock Islands. This man had been out for a day's fishing. Very efficient design, shows the speed with which